Now let's try out something related to sorting the data. Let's say, for example, I am trying to build a new sheet where I again want to, include this same kind of a graph where I'm trying to show category and subcategory wise sales. I can do that manually by, creating a new sheet and dragging and dropping those variables again. Or else, a good option that I have is I can duplicate this sheet so that I don't have to redo the entire thing. Let's say I am trying to duplicate this entire sheet. I just need to click on this button here on the toolbar, which will allow me to duplicate. So now that you have clicked on the duplicate button, can you observe the sheet 4 second version has got created here. Now this is where you again get to see both the graphs. But let's say I don't want this profit related graph here. I'll just drag and drop it over here to remove that. And you can see I just have a single graph now which shows the category and the subcategory wise sales. Now this is where all of the values have been labeled for now, and you can also adjust the height. Okay, so let me say I'm fitting this to the entire view. You'll be able to see all of the labels are now being displayed, which previously were not visible because the bars were very narrow in the width. Now that this graph is clearly visible, let me talk upon how do we sort the data in Tableau. So while we sort the data, there are multiple options that are available which we can make use of. And I'm going to show you all of those options one after the other. Now, just to jog your memories, we had a sorting option that we have already noticed while we discussed the data source tab. You remember when we were talking about the header that you see in this particular data source pane, there was an option that was available here, a kind of sorting icon, a button that was available which could allow you to sort the data. And it is as simple as just clicking on that sort button and getting your data sorted in either the ascending or the descending order or the data source order. So there are these three orders which are available. You sort it in the ascending order or the descending or the way it is present in the actual dataset file. So let's say if I click on this customer name, you can see the data is getting sorted from A to Z. If I click on the descending button, you can see it is the Z to A wala order. And if I click once again, it is the actual order in which the data is present in the file. So this is one of the ways using which you can sort the data. However, when you sort your data in the data source, it is only getting sorted in this particular view and does not have any changes onto any of the graphs that you have created using this data. So this is actually sorting to just see the data in a sorted manner in this table. But what if I want to sort the graphs and charts that I have created? So let's say, for example, I want to sort this particular graph. There are again multiple options which I can use while I am onto this sheet. For example, the very first option that I would like to show you is the sorting at the axis level. If you observe here, next to the sales, I have this icon again available which allows me to sort the data. One click will give me the descending order, another click will give me the ascending order, and the third click will again give me the original order. So the same logic that we saw on the data source pane is available at the axis level as well. All you need to do is simply click on that icon. And once you click on it, I want you to observe that that icon is now available there. Because as a third person, when you look at this graph, you should be able to realize that the graph has been sorted on the basis of the sales axis. So this is where I want you to observe that within each pane, all of the categories, or let me put it this way, within each of the categories, all of the subcategories have been sorted in a descending order. We can see that chairs is giving us the maximum sales with respect to the furniture. Storage related office supplies are giving us the maximum sales in the category of office supplies. And phones are the product which are giving us the maximum sales in the technology. So this is where I can easily look at the values and make sense out of it. So sorting is many of the times useful when you have a lot of values, a lot of subcategories, let's say, and you want to mainly focus on those top few categories in each of the major categories. So this is how you can sort easily at the axis level, where if you observe, I have sorted on the basis of the numerical variable, which was present on your x-axis. But you can also sort your data on the basis of the variables that are present on the y-axis, and both of them are categorical variables. So I want you to observe that when you click on this category variable, as soon as I hover over it, you get to see A to Z or Z to A wala order. Let's say if I click on A to Z, my values were already in the ascending order. But if I click once again, you will see that it will shuffle the order. And now you can see it is in the descending order, where technology comes first, then comes office supplies, and then the furniture. Similarly, if you also want to sort your data on the basis of subcategories, you can click on this icon and you will again see it is in the ascending alphabetical order, where copiers came first and then the phones, fasteners in this office supplies came first and then going towards storage. And similarly, in case of furniture, furnishings is the first category and chairs is the later category. So if you want to further sort the data on the basis of the subcategory, we can click on this icon and you can see we again get the ascending or the descending order as we click on this icon. So currently we have the ascending order, where in the technology, I want you to observe that we start with A and go up to P, accessories to phones. In case of office supplies, we start with appliances and go towards the supplies. And similarly, in case of furniture, we start with bookcases and go up to tables. Once again, if I click on this, you can see it's the descending order that we have, where we start with phones and go towards the accessories, and similarly for the rest of the categories. So this is how we can either sort the data on the x-axis or on the y-axis variables by simply clicking onto these icons that are available next to the labels on those axes. This is what is called as axis level sorting. Apart from the axis level sorting, we also have other ways to sort. For example, you also have these two buttons available on the toolbar that allow you to quickly sort the data. So one click will give me the ascending order and this one will give me the descending order. This is known as your toolbar level sorting. So we saw the data source level sorting, we saw the axis level sorting, and we also saw the toolbar level sorting. But the main approach using which we can sort the data is at the pill level. So this category and subcategory which we have placed over here are known as pills in Tableau. If you observe, these buttons or the pills are currently showing me that the data is sorted in the descending order. But if I click onto this arrow, can you observe that there is a proper sort option available which gives you a typical sort dialog box where there are multiple options which you can use in order to sort. So let's try to figure out what are the possible ways using which we can sort the data. If you see here, sort by which approach is what it is asking us. If I go with the data source order, the options that I get over here is whether I want it in the ascending order or whether I want it in the descending order. We can choose whichever is the convenient one for us. But the same thing comes when you are also looking at the alphabetic order. Ascending order will give you in the ascending order and this one will give you in the descending order. Now just observe this point that I had got this sort menu by clicking onto the category variable. So whatever sorting options that I am applying are actually getting applied onto the category variable. In case you want to apply the sorting on the basis of the subcategory variable, please ensure that you are choosing the sort option from this pill and not from the category pill. Let's say if I go with this sorting option now on the basis of the subcategory variable, let's explore the other options. You can also sort on the basis of field. And this is a very interesting one. Although you can choose your ascending or descending order over here, I want you to mainly observe that which is the field on which you are choosing to sort, which is the field on which you are using to sort. Currently, because we have used the sum of sales into the graph, I want you to observe the same aggregation and the same field is being used in this menu as well. So we are sorting in the descending order of sum of sales. But Tableau does not restrict you to sort on the basis of only that variable which you have used in the graph. I have the liberty to choose any other variable as well. So maybe the data that I am representing using the bars could be showing the values for the sales. But I want to sort the data on the basis of profit. So this is where you can see, given that I have sorted in the descending order, technology category shows that copiers are the subcategory of product which is giving us maximum profit. Even though the sales for the phones was the highest, but the profit that we are earning is highest in terms of the copiers and not in terms of the phones. So we have the liberty to choose any other field as well as aggregation measure. I can choose from the several aggregation measures that are available over here, and we can accordingly adjust the visualization. So which is the product that is giving me on an average a very high profit? Based on that, we have sorted the data currently. But usually when you look at profit like variables, it is the sum aggregation measure which is most applicable. Now this is where we try to sort on the basis of a field value. Apart from this, you can also choose to sort the data manually. This manual option will give you the list of all the subcategories here, and you can try adjusting these subcategories in an order which you would like to display to the audience. Let's say, for example, within the office supplies, I would like to bring the fasteners above binders. All I need to do is drag these fasteners and drop it above the binders. Can you see? The graph has shown the change. But this approach ideally becomes difficult to handle through this dialog box, because if you observe, all of the subcategories are present together. They are not divided on the basis of the categories. So what we can do instead is, we can directly choose to drag and drop the subcategories within the view. Can you observe? I dragged the art category and I dropped it over the appliances, and you can see it has shifted its position. Let's say I want art at the very top. I can put it above paper, and you can see the graph is showing the change accordingly. So you can manually sort the data in the order in which you want the audience to focus on that particular data. So this is also manual sorting, which is a good way to sort your data. But there is a final option that I would like to show you, which is the nested sorting. This is where you can sort using two options together, either in the ascending order, descending order, or on the basis of the field name combined together. This is pretty much equivalent to the field level sorting that we had seen some time back, and this gives you the option to combine the multiple sorting effects together onto the graph that you have built. So whichever approach you would like to choose, select that approach, make the necessary changes, and you will be able to see the graph showing those changes applied onto the data. Remember, sorting the graph means sorting it only for that particular sheet. If you go back to the previous sheets, you will see the data is as it is. So sorting is a sheet level activity and not a workbook level activity. All the changes that you have made are only applicable to that specific sheet. So now that we have seen the major option of sorting, which is the sort menu that we can access with the help of the pin, this is where I also want to show you that there is a clear sort option that has also been provided. In case you don't want to sort the data or want to remove all the effects that you have applied with respect to sorting, you can clear sort, and you will see you get the original data back again. Although The axis level sorting is still applicable here because that was the different way of sorting that we had applied previously. So the clear sort will only clear the sorting that you had done with the help of the sort menu which you had chosen from here. So this is how the entire sorting thing works onto the various types of graphs and charts. And let me tell you, the way we have sorted this particular graph, similarly you can sort any other given graph as well. Now, having said this, let me talk upon this particular pane. If you see, there are categories going in an increasing order, where you can see the furnishing is giving us the lowest sales and the chairs is giving us the maximum sales. Now, while we discuss this, I also want to highlight that all of these bars in the furniture category are actually consuming a good amount of space, right? They are contributing good. So you can see lengthy bars for each of the categories. But if you look at the few categories that are present in the office supplies, for example, the subcategories like fasteners, labels, envelopes, art, etc., these are contributing very less to the overall sales, right? But they are still occupying the space for a particular bar. And that's because it was an individual category, so it will occupy that space. But what if I have a lot of such subcategories? Currently, whatever values we have are actually fitting into this entire view. So we are not getting any kind of scroll bars while we look at this graph. But let's say if there are even more categories, let's say 50 or 100 subcategories that we have, we will definitely end up getting a scroll bar. And having a graph with a scroll bar at the time of your final presentation is ideally not a best practice. So in such kind of situations, what we can do is we can club together such categories which are contributing very low. For example, as we discussed, fasteners, labels, envelopes, these are contributing very less. So maybe we can combine these three categories together and group it as a single category. So that's where we are talking about creating groups within the data, such that these three categories, once combined into a single one, will occupy the space of only one bar. So in order to help you relate to an example, suppose there is a variable like occupation and there are hundreds of occupations listed there. There are a few major ones, but the rest of them are just one or two in count. In such kind of situations, what you can do is you can create a others category where you can put the rest of those subcategories. Keeping the major ones intact, the rest of them can be clubbed together as a others category. The same thing is what we are going to do here with the help of these subcategories, which are fasteners, labels and envelopes. So let's say if I want to create a grouped variable, what I need to do is the variable within which I want to create groups, I need to right click onto that. So suppose I right click onto the subcategory variable, you get this option to create group. Once I click on this, can you observe this is the group dialog box that I am getting, where the field name is indicated as subcategory group. Of course, you can rename this variable, but I prefer having the variable with that word group because that clearly indicates that this is a grouped variable created for the subcategory variable. So let the name be as it is. What we get to see here is a list of all the subcategories that were present in that variable. Now within this list of values, what we need to work upon is fasteners, labels and envelopes as we discussed. So what we can do is, using the control key, we can select multiple values here. I have selected the envelopes, fasteners and labels, remember, using the control key for multiple selection. Now I can group together these elements by clicking onto this group button. And can you observe, there is a paperclip icon that has got associated with this, indicating that this is a group. And the name has also got auto-populated based on what were the subcategories that you tried to group. But you obviously can rename it. So these were like, very small or let's say stationary items that we were trying to group together. So let me name it as stationary items. And this is where the group will be named as stationary items and will be available as a single category once I hit the enter here. So now that I have created this, let me click on OK, and you will see that a new variable called as subcategory group with the paperclip icon has got created here. Now this is where I can try looking at this particular variable. Let me remove the subcategory variable from here and let me drag and drop the subcategory group variable. Subcategory group, here it is. So as soon as I drag and drop this one, can you observe I'm not getting to see the individual values for fasteners, labels and envelopes, and rather I'm able to see a single bar called as stationary items. This is how you can group together the multiple data points. Now, what if I want to add art also to this stationary items, because art again is contributing very low to the overall sales, isn't it? So suppose if I want to edit this group, we have that edit option here. Because this is a variable that we have created, we can definitely edit it. So once I go to this edit group, you can see I again get the same option, the same dialog box and the same set of options where I can now add the art to the existing group of stationary items. Either I can do it by dragging and dropping it within the stationary items, or I can do this by selecting art from here and going to this add to option, and you can see the group which we had created, the stationary items, is available here. All I need to do is select that, and you can see art is now present as part of the stationary items. At the same time, you can also ungroup a particular item. Let's say, for example, you decide that labels is something that I don't want to consider as part of the group. You can just select it and you can ungroup it, and you can now see it is available as an individual subcategory. So it is up to us to edit the group as per our convenience and requirement even at a later stage. Currently, I am trying to add the labels back into the stationary items group, and this is my final stationary items group which is ready to be applied. So now can you see art again is not available as an individual subcategory, but it is within the stationary items. Now this is where I get to see stationary items as a single bar. But what if I want to see those bars further bifurcated into those individual subcategories? We can easily do that because we still have the subcategory variable with us, right? So let me just drag that subcategory variable and let me place it next to the grouped variable. And can you observe now? I have three variables where category is further divided into the grouped subcategories, where you can see stationary items is a single group. And as soon as I drag the actual subcategories over here, you can see the stationary items is showing the bifurcation that art, envelopes, fasteners as well as labels all are a part of the stationary items. So this is where we have got a single bar when we look at only the grouped variable, and we get individual bars when we look at the actual variable. So this is how you can group together the elements in order to create a grouped category. Now let me also show you another approach using which you can create groups, and that's a quick, easy approach. Let's say, for example, at the runtime, you suddenly realize that you also want to combine the chairs and tables together. You can just select them using the control key, and you see that there is a pop-up menu that appears where there is this paperclip icon again present. If you hover over it, it tells you group members. All you need to do is click on that icon because this variable is actually a group data, correct? So if we click onto this, can you observe that chairs and tables have now been combined as a single group? And because we had the subcategories taken individually as well, you can see those two different bars. So if I just remove that subcategory variable from here, this is what I want you to observe. Chairs and tables is a single category now, similar to the stationery items which had 4 individual items into it. And this is the grouped effect that we are able to see. If I again decide to integrate the subcategory variable also into this, you see the further bifurcations where you can clearly see chairs and tables are being shown individually as well, and stationery items related categories are also being shown individually in the form of bars. This is how you can create groups within the data. Either you do it with the help of the grouping option, which gives you the typical menu where you can select the categories and you can group them together, or you can also do it quick on the go where you just use the control key for selecting the multiple categories and you click on that paperclip icon and it will do the grouping for you. So this is how groups can be established, and it is effectively used when you have large number of categories in the data. If you have a very few set of categories, grouping ideally is not required in Tableau. We would rather prefer having those categories being shown individually into the views.
Like this video, subscribe to our channel and comment on the concept you want to learn next.